You remember exactly where you were, the lighting in the room, the tone of their voice, that offhand comment from 4 years ago that made your stomach drop. You can still feel the heat rise up your neck. It's 2 a.m., and your brain is running the tape again. Your jaw tightens, your heart thumps. You are furious all over again. Why can't you just let it go? The standard answer is, you're holding a grudge. But the real answer is far stranger and much deeper. The answer is etched into your ancestral DNA. Your brain isn't being petty. It is obeying an ancient survival code that once saved lives. And right now, it is hijacking your modern mind. To understand why, you have to travel back 200,000 years. Your ancestors lived in small nomadic bands of perhaps 30 to 150 people. There were no police, no contracts, no emergency services. Survival depended entirely on cooperation. The tribe hunted together, shared food, and guarded against predators as a unit. Being part of the group wasn't just nice, it was oxygen, it was life. If the group turned on you, you were dead. Exile meant exposure to predators, starvation, and rival tribes. Anthropological records of modern hunter-gatherers show that ostracism is the closest thing to a death sentence short of physical violence. So your brain evolved a merciless social monitoring system. It became exquisitely sensitive to signs of betrayal, unfairness, and rejection. Misjudge a potential ally, and you could lose your place by the fire forever. Forget a thief, and your food might disappear the next week. The cost of forgiveness was existential. Enter the brain regions that make this ancient system tick. In 2003, neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger conducted a now famous study at UCLA. She placed volunteers in fMRI scanners and had them play a simple virtual ball toss game called Cyberball. After a few minutes, the other players, actually computer programs, stopped passing the ball to the participant. The person was deliberately excluded. What happened inside their brains was stunning. The dorsal anterior cingulate cortex and the anterior insula lit up like a bonfire. These are the exact same areas that process physical pain. A punch to the face, a broken bone. Your brain encodes social rejection with the same neural alarm system as bodily injury. UCLA psychologist Matthew Lieberman later expanded this finding, showing that the phrase hurt feelings is barely a metaphor. To your deep brain, social pain is physical pain. A betrayal registers as a threat to your very survival, not your ego, your existence. But your brain doesn't stop there. It refuses to let the memory fade. This is where the grudge gets its relentless staying power. Every time you recall that coworker who stole your credit or that friend who ghosted you, the stress hormone norepinephrine floods your amygdala. Norepinephrine acts like a yellow highlighter on a page. It tags the memory with raw emotion and restores it more vividly in your long-term memory. Recall a betrayal 10 times and it becomes 10 times stickier. This is a process called memory reconsolidation, and it evolved to make sure dangerous information never decayed. Forgetting a poisonous plant is inconvenient. Forgetting a treacherous tribe member is catastrophic. So your brain treats the memory of a social wound like a predator sighting. It plays it back, it sharpens it. It refuses to let you rest. Then comes the cruelest twist. Your brain makes the grudge addictive. In 2004, a team of neuroscientists led by Ernst and colleagues asked participants to think about taking revenge on someone who had wronged them. Their scans revealed something startling. The mere fantasy of retaliation flooded the nucleus accumbens with dopamine. The nucleus accumbens is the brain's reward center, the same circuit that lights up for food, sex, and addictive drugs. Your brain doesn't just record the betrayal, it craves the rush of imagined justice. The grudge becomes a loop. Perceive threat, replay memory, anticipate revenge, get a dopamine hit, and start again. You are not just angry. You are neurologically hooked. This kept your ancestors vigilantly rehearsing their social defenses. It kept them safe. It keeps you staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m. Now the dangerous gap appears. Your ancient brain cannot distinguish between a genuine survival threat and a modern social microaggression. A friend forgetting to invite you to dinner triggers the same primal roar as being banished from the safety of the communal cave. Your system was calibrated for a world of high-stakes interpersonal dependence. In that world, a single betrayal could unravel your entire support network. Today, you live among millions. The stakes are astronomically lower, but your amygdala doesn't know that. So your body still floods with cortisol, the chronic stress hormone. Cortisol is useful for escaping a lion. It is devastating when it drips through your veins for years because of a brunch snub. Research from the University of California found that people who reported holding long-term grudges showed elevated resting heart rates, higher blood pressure, and increased rates of depression and heart disease. The ancient survival system that once protected your ancestors is literally breaking your body down in the modern world. Why would evolution allow such a self-destructive mismatch? Because natural selection cares about one metric: survival to reproductive age. On the Pleistocene savanna, the person who could remember a cheater and avoid them lived longer and had more children than the person who forgave and forgot. The health costs of a grudge, which might shave a few years off the end of your life after age 50, were invisible to evolution because you had already passed on your genes. The immediate danger of betrayal was far more pressing than the slow burn of resentment. Evolution made a grim trade-off, and you are living with the outcome. This means you are the descendant of the most proficient grudge holders in history. Your ancestors were the ones who never forgot who stole food during a famine, who remembered exactly which alliance shifted during a tribal dispute. They etched these violations into their memory and taught their children to be wary. That hypertrophied social memory is a gift of survival that has become a burden of modern life. Every minor slight feels like existential annihilation because your brain's software was written for a tribe of 150, not a city of millions. The ancient logic screams, "This person is a threat. Cut them out. Never forget." But the threat is now just an awkward silence in a group chat. There is, however, a way to loosen the grip. The same neuroscience that uncovered the pain overlap also found that simple mental labeling can short-circuit the loop. Matthew Lieberman's work on affect labeling shows that when you consciously name the emotion, "My brain is treating this social rejection as physical pain," your prefrontal cortex activates and sends calming signals down to the amygdala. Naming the ancient code begins to rewrite it. Observing the reaction from a slight distance creates a crack in the automatic replay. You are not your ancestors. You are not on the savannah. You can remind your frightened inner mammal that the exclusion is not a death sentence today. So the next time you catch yourself simmering over that insult from 3 summers ago, pause. Notice the heat in your chest. Recognize it as your ancient survival machinery, doing what it evolved to do. It is shouting about danger and justice and tribal expulsion. But all it is really doing is raising your blood pressure over a forgotten birthday wish. The insult was delivered once. The grudge has been relived 1,000 times inside your own body. And you are the only one who can tell your billion-year-old brain that it can finally stand down. No predators are coming. The fire is still warm. You are still part of the tribe. That is why, all those years later at 2 a.m., you might finally be able to let it go.